And the Houston Rockets routed the Los Angeles Lakers 115-96 to stay alive in the NBA playoffs as San Antonio's Victor Wembanyama made a triumphant return to put the Spurs on the brink of advancing. Armon Thompson scored 23 points to fuel the Rockets, who bounced back from a crushing overtime loss in the last game to cut the deficit in their best of 7 Western Conference series to 3-1 on Sunday.
Berlin, Germany. The trial of 5 European nationals accused of attacking a factory linked to Israeli weapons manufacturer Elbit Systems in Germany is set to begin on Monday. The case is seen by some as a major escalation in Germany's crackdown on the Palestine solidarity movement.
Honor has introduced refreshed mid-range laptops for 2026, the Notebook X14 Plus and Notebook X16 Plus, while also launching a compact version of the MagicPad 3 Pro tablet in China. The new products focus on portability, updated processors, larger batteries, and higher-end displays. The Honor Notebook X14 Plus is a smaller laptop, weighing around 1.27 kilograms and measuring 9mm thick. It features a 14-inch display with options up to 2880 by 1800 resolution and a 120 Hz refresh rate. A lower-cost Full HD version is also available. The Islamabad Traffic Police, ITP, has shifted its driving license system to a fully paperless model as part of efforts to improve service delivery and streamline operations. Chief Traffic Officer Mohammed Safraz Verk announced the transition during a review meeting with officials from service centers and directed all branches to implement the digital system.
And the Board of Intermediate and Secondary Education Lahore has introduced an automated system for practical examinations for the first time, marking a major step toward transparency and digitization in the education sector. The initiative has been implemented under the directives of Mariam Nawaz Sharif to modernize the province's education system.
A strong earthquake was felt in several major cities across Pakistan, including Islamabad, Rawalpindi, as well as in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, hitting Peshawar and Swat, triggering panic among residents and forcing many people to rush out of homes and offices. The tremors were reported in the major cities within a short span, with social media quickly filling up with accounts from people who felt the shaking.
The Capital Development Authority, CDA, demolished an FC camp office in Islamabad as part of its ongoing anti-encroachment drive, targeting illegal structures on public land. The operation took place near Marriott and Ayub Chowk on the Green Belt and was carried out under the supervision of Federal Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi.
And NADRA Technologies Limited, NTL and Unicrew Solutions Private Limited have formalized an additional strategic memorandum of understanding to collaborate on opportunities related to digital identity verification and customer digital onboarding and end-to-end digital workflows, further strengthening the relationship between the two organizations. And it builds on the existing relationship between NTL and Unicrew Solutions and is distinct in scope from the earlier understanding between the two entities related to MBVS services.
On Friday, April 11, while Pakistani officials were arranging the seating plan for ceasefire talks in Islamabad, the USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Michael Murphy entered the Strait of Hormuz. Murphy switched on her automatic identification system, a deliberate broadcast visible to every vessel and coastal radar in the Gulf, announcing her presence in a waterway no American warship had entered since Operation Epic Fury began on the 28th February. A radio exchange recorded by a civilian vessel captured the Iranian warning to them. "This is the last warning. This is the last warning." The American reply invoked the rules of the ceasefire, the same ceasefire whose negotiation was being prepared at that moment in a conference room in Islamabad.
And North Korea is taking advantage of the Middle East war to speed up its weapons development and cement its nuclear status in a world where international norms have broken down. Analysts say since US-Israeli strikes on Iran began in late February, North Korea has conducted 5 missile launches, including 4 so far in April, the most in a single month since January 2024, according to an AFP tally. And the conflict in the Middle East has disrupted supplies of crucial raw materials and pushed up prices of the printed circuit boards, PCB, used in almost all electronic devices from smartphones and computers to AI servers, and industry sources and executives said. And the disruption is a fresh blow to electronics manufacturers, which are already grappling with soaring memory chip costs, and highlights the broadening impact of the Iran war that has wreaked havoc on supply chains, plastics, and oil supplies. And a court in Taiwan has fined the local unit of Japan's Tokyo Electron 5 miners and sentenced 5 defendants to jail terms of up to 10 years in a high-profile trade secrets case involving chipmaker TSMC. The ruling follows one of Taiwan's most prominent cases related to the island's core technologies, involving the alleged theft of TSMC's sensitive computer chip technology and charges under the National Security Act.
The federal government has approved price fixation for 35 essential and life-saving medicines, with another 45 molecules expected to be cleared soon, in a move aimed at addressing shortages that had affected patient treatment across Pakistan. A senior official said the decision is expected to improve the availability of critical therapies that had remained inaccessible due to delays in pricing approvals. The shortages had forced many patients to either miss treatment or rely on expensive, unregulated alternatives.
And as inflation climbs into double digits, most Pakistanis are living day to day struggling to make ends meet. With the national budget under preparation, it is a busy period for corporates and who rely on networks for insights into likely measures while using formal and informal channels to engage policymakers and present their wish lists. Ordinary Pakistanis, and largely disengaged from the technicalities of budget making and wary of number juggling, judge national budgets by their impact on their pockets. A politically opinionated public remains sceptical and expecting little relief from a government preoccupied with geopolitics currently. And in the year leading up to its dramatic seizure by US forces in the Indian Ocean, the oil tanker known as the MT Tiffany made several trips between Iran and a stretch of water off the coast of Malaysia, around 60 miles from the glitzy skyscrapers of Singapore. During these trips, it often loitered in a small area before dropping at anchor and switching off its mandatory automatic identification system, AIS, according to marine traffic data reviewed by CNN.
Sydney, Australia. Until recently, Roscoe Jewell sold about 1 used electric vehicle every 2 months on his online marketplace, Amazing EV. But in the weeks since the United States and Israel launched their war on Iran, Jewell has been shifting a second-hand EV roughly every 2 weeks. Dera Ismail Khan. A fire broke out in a cargo truck at Mara in Dera Ismail Khan district on the Indus Highway, prompting authorities to shut the road and causing long queues of vehicles on both sides. According to rescue sources, the incident occurred near Dorasolan Ada in the district's Paroa Tehsil, where a trailer loaded with cloth suddenly caught fire and the blaze intensified within moments.
Financial security in Pakistan is no longer determined by how much you earn, but by how well you can absorb shocks. Pakistan's weekly sensitive price index, CPI, inflation was recorded at 9.12 PC in the most recent reported week. For an ordinary consumer, this is a significant number. To put it into perspective, with a monthly salary of 100,000, an average household spends about 60% of its income on essentials like food, utilities, and transport. So items that originally cost $60,000 will now cost an individual more than $65,000. Most of all, this drains their disposable income, including savings and contributions made to any emergency funds.
and. Pakistan approaches its next federal budget not with optimism, but under the weight of numbers that have grown more unforgiving since the original assessment. Between July 2025 and February 2026 alone, the federal government's debt rose by a staggering Rs 1.99 trillion to 79.9 TR, including external debt equivalent of 23.2 TR, according to the State Bank of Pakistan.
The word special does not begin to do it justice, said Donald Trump of the relationship between the United States and Britain. We're like two notes in one chord or two verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own. That was in September when the US president spoke at a banquet hosted by King Charles III to mark his unprecedented second state visit to Britain. Since then, Trump's comments about Britain have not been so lyrical or so kind.
Rawalpindi, Punjab Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Faisal Ayub Kokar on Sunday asked for the installation of a solar energy system at the Liaquat Bag Sports Complex and for improvements to the condition of the food street on Double Road. He visited the Liaquat Bag Sports Complex and reviewed the ongoing development work under the scheme Rehabilitation of Liaquat Bag Sports Complex.
Restrictions still in place around Nur Khan Air Base. Localities still closed are likely to reopen today, along with Pewadai and Faizabad bus stands, says official Rawalpindi. After a week of closure, many areas in Rawalpindi and Islamabad have reopened, bringing a sense of relief to the residents. However, residential and commercial areas around Nur Khan Air Base still remain closed. Negotiations to hammer out the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement took nearly 2 years before a breakthrough was achieved. Therefore, expecting Iran and the US to reach a deal that can end the war launched by America and Israel, while covering complicated issues such as reparations and freedom of navigation in the Gulf within days is unrealistic, while the global economy is reeling from the war, particularly the Iranian and American blockades of the Strait of Hormuz, and people around the world desire a swift resolution. These matters take time. That is why it would be wrong to label Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi's visit to Islamabad on Saturday a failure. Although US President Donald Trump refused to send his emissaries after Mr. Araghchi left Pakistan for Muscat, the game is far from over and hectic efforts to salvage the diplomatic process continue.
Oil prices have climbed higher amid stalled peace talks between the United States and Iran. Brent crude rose more than 2% on Sunday after hopes for a second round of ceasefire negotiations between Washington and Tehran unraveled over the weekend.
Truecaller is one of the world's most widely used caller identification platforms, with more than 500 million users. Now it's entering a more challenging phase as growth slows in its largest market and competition intensifies across telecom networks and smartphone platforms. Much of Truecaller's growth has been driven by India, which accounts for over 350 million users, or about 70% of its global base. The volume of spam and unwanted calls has turned the app from a simple caller ID service into a more embedded layer of everyday communication. Islamabad. PTI Kisan Wing Central Information Secretary Khalid Nawaz Sadraich said on Sunday that the absence of officially designated private companies for wheat procurement in major wheat-producing hubs of small-scale farmers has triggered a wave of panic, leaving growers vulnerable to middlemen purchasing harvests at throwaway prices. In a statement, Sadraich said that based on field reports gathered from different parts of Punjab, the provincial government's designated private companies have marginalised small-scale farmers in the wheat procurement process, registering only 65,000 out of more than 4 million farmers, despite 2 weeks of the purchasing drive.
Lahore. 5 incarcerated PTI leaders at Kot Lakpat jail have called upon the federal government to stop passing the buck and focus on real issues being faced by the power division adding that false narratives could never address real challenges in a statement issued through their counsel Rana Mudassar Umer. Jailed leaders Shah Mahmood Qureshi, Dr. Yasmin Rashid Ejaz Chaudhry, Omar Sarfraz Chima and Mian Mahmoudur Rashid bemoaned that the country's power division, with an installed generation capacity of 46,000 ambibu, was not able to manage the current peak demand of 19,000 ambibu.
And Karachi. The federal government has approved the long-awaited price fixation of 35 new essential and life-saving medicines, with another 45 molecules expected to be cleared shortly, and in a move aimed at ending critical shortages that had disrupted treatment for patients across Pakistan, a senior official and industry sources said on Sunday. And the official said the decision would improve the availability of several high-priority therapies that had remained inaccessible due to prolonged delays in price fixation and forcing patients to either go without treatment or depend on costly and often unregulated smuggled medicines.
Amazon's podcasting business has transformed over the past 6 months, according to the New York Times. Back in August 2025, the company reportedly eliminated more than 100 jobs from its podcast studio, Wondery. At the time, Amazon insisted it was not shutting Wondery down, and that appears to be technically true. It still uses the Wondery brand.
And Theo Baker is graduating from Stanford this spring with something most seniors don't have, a book deal, a George Polk Award that he received for his investigative reporting as a student journalist, and a front row account of one of the most romanticized institutions in the world, his forthcoming How to Rule the World. An Education in Power at Stanford University was excerpted Friday in The Atlantic, and based on that alone, and I can't wait to see the rest. The only question worth asking is the same one Baker himself might be too close to answer, which is, can a book like this actually change anything? Or does the spotlight, as it always seems to, and send more students racing to the place?